Hello, everyone. It's me, Kirsten, and this is the It's Giving Mystical podcast. And this is your podcast for the week ahead, the week of June 6th. So, listen, we're in that lover's tower energy all month long. That's just a lot of energy. To be in a tower for a whole month means that there's just it's going to all happen really quickly. There's going to be a lot of energy. You can feel it almost like lightning crackling in the ground. You're moving and you think and then things are changing and things are shifting. And you really need to slow down because the system's already unstable. We talked about it on the monthly podcast. You have this kind of push-pull dynamic of me or you learning how to meet someone at the boundary line, merging and retracting. And then you have the system trying to hold more energy and kind of being strained, the edges being strained. So you have instability in these four dimensions, the backward, forward, and the side to side. And I'm just using that as an illustration to say that there's already instability in the system. June is already a month where there's more energy moving through than you can anticipate, than you've had before. And that's awesome. It's a good thing. It's awesome. My Long Island accent comes out. That's awesome. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to be full of life, full of vitality, for life to be saying to you, I want more. I can hold more. I want to experience more. That's all really good energy. And it's a lot of energy. So in this June month, you want to just take it all in stride. Plans change, okay. Plans reorganize, okay. You get rejection, okay. You get an invitation that feels good, okay. The idea is that we're just going to be a little more nimble, a little more curious about where life's taking us, about the way the path is unfolding. The Lovers card, we talked about this a little bit also on the monthly podcast, but just this sense of whatever you're being moved towards, whether you're being moved towards, again, it feels like something around union or something around differentiation. So I need to have more of me, or I need to have more of us. Whatever that sensation is, it's going to become intensified. That call from your system, from your body, from your heart is going to become more intense. And so we just want to let that be true as much as possible. Two of the kind of things that are floating around the field, either in my private work or in my own practice, or even with my friends in my community, is one, this idea of saturation. I sound a little bit like a broken record, but you are transforming, you are becoming different. There's some kind of evolution happening for us collectively, but in each of our individual systems as well. This conversation with the body, as Chiron goes into Taurus, for I think it's like a 9-year cycle, going to become even more intense. The sense of, how do I treat this beautiful sacred container? How in awe am I of the divinity that is my body, my physical incarnation? And this idea of saturation is that we are so full, and there's only really two ways to handle that. One, there's an overflow, which is a good thing. It's the idea of serving from overflow, loving from overflow, relating from overflow, creating from overflow, all a good thing. Sometimes that's the way the system's going to react, literally like a sponge, and you're just getting fuller and fuller and fuller. There's an intensification. Try not to flee. Try not to try to bypass that. Try to stay with it. And as you feel yourself full of that, it's either going to overflow, all good things, or the container is going to expand. And you're going to be able to hold even more. You're going to have that sense of a little more space, even that, oh, wait, there's more. I thought I hit capacity. I thought I hit the limits, but look at that. There's more. So this idea of saturation is just alive, and it's going to be, again, different for all of us. But whatever the energetics, whatever the thing that's occupying your energy, this idea of being saturated with it, you're almost being asked to hold and wait and hold the pose a little bit longer than you wanted to, which came up, I think, a month or two ago in our weekly cards. But this idea of saturation. And then on the flip side, because we're always working in polarity, at least for now, there's also this energy of an emptying out. So it's counterintuitive and paradoxical that we're feeling both our fullness, we're feeling our capacity strain and the system adjust, and we're feeling this great emptying out. There's things that just don't, I keep hearing the word jive, but they don't jive with you, they don't work for you, you can maybe be moving towards something and it keeps collapsing like a house of cards. Oh, this is the thing, and then it collapses. This is the thing, and then it collapses. And there's something about experiencing that over these past maybe 2 months, 1 month, maybe since the beginning of 2025, where it's like, oh, I thought that was stability. I thought that was desire. I thought that's where I was supposed to go. And I'm watching it kind of collapse. And internally, that's also happening. So it's this emptying out of, what would I say? Urgency, emptying out of feeling like you need to figure it out by yourself, emptying out of your recognition that you're not the only driver, you're not the only creator. And the card I pulled for us this week is the Death card. And full behind the scenes disclosure, I pulled this card yesterday for the weekly card and I couldn't get the recording right. And that really doesn't happen that often, but I sat down and I just couldn't get the channel open, couldn't get the rhythm. So I just kind of walked away from it. And then when I went to pull cards again, I was like, well, let me see what else is here. And I pulled all major arcana cards. So that's kind of said to me, just Kirsten, do what you're supposed to do. Just do your job, girl. Do your job, which is talk about the Death card. The thing that came up for this is more than anything else, because the Death card can mean lots of things, right? It can mean finality, transformation, resurrection, rebirth. It can mean metamorphosis. It can mean molting. It can mean so many different things. But the word that really came through was this idea of resurrection. Something is going to be resurrected this week. And it feels like a big deal when all the tarot is giving me is major cards, when it's like Death card, Tower card, Magician card, Chariot card. It's saying to me there's something getting created and something getting destroyed and created at the same time, which is why they gave me the Death card. Tarot's a very funny system, and it is a very clear system. So even when I resist it and I'm like, well, what else? What else? Tarot's like, this is it, girl. This is what you're supposed to be talking about this week. So this idea of resurrection, and it's a big deal. So it's not just a casual resurrection, but it's a resurrection that matters. And I'm thinking that it matters to you either because of this sense of saturation. I can't hold this by myself anymore, or the sense of emptying out, which it's interesting. All these things, they cycle back around to each other, but the emptying out being like, oh, I'm not the driver of all things, which our ego likes to explain to us that we are. It's all on you, girl. It's not all on you. We live in a harmonious universe that's trying to co-create and merge and separate and differentiate and union, all that, all constant, the constant flux and flow of that. So the energy that came through was this idea of resurrection. The other thing that came through was this term extinction burst, which I don't know exactly what it means. I think it has something to do with biology and the way that a species goes extinct, something happens. And I hesitate to look it up. I hesitate to put extra meaning around it. When I hear a phrase like that, I try to offer it just as it comes through. And the sensation was this build up of energy and then a collapse. And I keep seeing that now too, this house of cards collapsing. There's something that's not authentic or not real or not viable, and this was in what card was it? This does remind me of the Queen of Swords energy we just had, where there was something that you were using to prop up your comfort, prop up, I don't know, it had this safety blanket, this security blanket feeling. So I know this habit, it had to do with your daily habits or your emotional daydreaming, delusional narratives or fantasies or daydreams. And it was like those two dimensions. And the energy from the Queen of Swords was like, cut the shit. There's no more of that. It might feel good. There might be a part of you that's leaning on that needed that created that as a kind of, yes, swaddle or comfort space or comfort blanket. And that is the House of Cards. So it worked for a while, but it wasn't true, and it isn't true now, and it's not serving you. And so the Death card says to me, whatever you kind of saw last week around that Queen of Swords energy, a further collapse of the illusion, a further collapse of the unauthentic, the thing that's not true, not helpful, not moving you into your highest, I don't know. It's like, I don't even want to say things like your highest timeline, because the value judgments get old. The value judgments of you can be better or worse, or there's some place for you to arrive to, that stuff starts to feel really hollow. It's not that. It is a sense of authenticity, a sense of reality, a sense of what's actually on the table. When we do the alchemy work in Mystic Rising, that's the key lesson of the alchemist archetype in the feminine archetypal constellation, is the sense of there is no unworkable material, but I can only work with the material on the table. It doesn't mean it can't turn into crazy stuff. Crazy things can happen. The alchemical process is magical and undefinable and unexpected. And there's something about looking at the table and being like, this is what's on the table, and to not pretend otherwise. And there's something about, again, either your daily habits that you're looking at and you're like, this is how I'm functioning. And there's a part of you that knows it's a stall tactic, or again, this idea of swaddling. Those days when you just want to go to your bed and put the covers over and be like, I'll just pretend, I'll just pretend there's nothing outside of this little fort. It's that energy. You've done that in some way. And the Queen of Swords probably brought some clarity to that. And the Death card further collapses anything that's unstable in that. And you have the Tower and the Lovers. We have just all this emphasis on more energy, the system wanting your body, your heart, your life, wanting more vitality, more energy, more aliveness. And the things you've constructed or got lost in, and I say that with love, the daydreaming fantasy of maybe, that all of that becoming, again, not a satisfying meal anymore. And so that all collapses, and the Death offers some resurrection. And what I picture in my mind's eye is like you're standing in this field, you're standing outside, and there's all these house of cards, and they all collapse. And then a shoot comes up, something gets resurrected, something is born of that. And that's why there's really nothing outside of the path. There's nothing that's not of the path. So you can be like, oh, I had this bad habit, or I had this daydream or this fantasy, and it's been not even true, and it's been a comfort blanket, and it's been a house of cards. And yet there's a reason why you constructed that. There's a reason why you paused and stayed there for a minute. Something was percolating, something was being resurrected, something was composting in that. And I put this thing on Instagram the day, follow the energy and the energy will take you to God. I could not believe that more. There's nothing that's on your mind or bothering you or nagging you or drawing your energy or harassing you mentally or emotionally without good reason. It's all trying to show you something, to offer you a gateway, a doorway into, again, not your highest, best self, but maybe your most alive self, maybe your most present self, maybe the version of you that's, yeah, in it with your whole heart. Say it with my full chest, that kind of energy. So the Death card feels, that I've said that to you guys a million times, but that famous phrasing, the king is dead, long live the king. There's the sense of, with the Death card, the energy being recycled. And it's interesting because in this image, it's like the house of cards, it looks like they're not part of the compost material, but they are. And there's a collapse that happens. It feels like the house of cards analogy feels like this thing didn't matter, or this was a distraction, or this was not part of the real juice, the real stuff. And what this image is showing me is even these things that felt like a house of cards feel inconsequential are actually part of the compost. They're actually part of the mulching process, and something new comes through the surface this week. I think this is a big week astrologically for a bunch of reasons. I think particularly there's the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, which is a big deal. I think Jupiter might be moving signs. A bunch of things are happening. So the astrologers are talking about this week as being an important week. And the Death card kind of doubles down on that and says, yeah, something is transforming this week. Something is resurrecting this week that matters. And that would be the most simple message from the week ahead. All right, so take good care of yourself. Slow down. Take your time. Don't stress about things, because the things that you're stressing about might not even come to fruition. The road might change shape as you walk it this month, and that's okay. That's all right. That's life. You are nimble and resourceful and resilient and flexible. And like we just said, there's no turn in the road. There's no detour. There's no even mild distraction that's not there for a very good reason. That was my mom's teaching with the temperance card. She used to say, and I love it, and I think about it all the time, the angels place every stone on the path perfectly. There's no movement you're making that's a wasted movement. And that's why it's, yeah, do we want to live our highest timeline? For sure. But do we also want to have grace and compassion for the part of us that's here at all? What if none of it's a problem, and none of it's wasted, and none of it's unworkable material? What if it's all workable material? I think so. Okay, take such good care. Go Knicks, go World Cup, go Love Island, go graduation season, go Gemini season, go birthday season. June is a wild month, and trying very much to stay in it as present as possible with as much relaxation and joy as possible. That's my goal. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.